He went to the doctor for a urinary infection. That's it. That's the whole thing. That's where this starts. And for 3 days after the test, he genuinely didn't think about it. He picked the kids up from school, made dinner, watched his wife laugh at something on her phone from across the living room, and quietly, to himself, thought, "I'm lucky." That's the word he used later. Lucky. Then the results came back, and the number on that page just didn't fit. Didn't make sense with anything he knew about his own life. He read it again. Third time. Then he sat in his car in the clinic parking lot for 45 minutes and didn't move. Because the only explanation that actually matched what he was looking at was one he couldn't bring himself to say out loud. Not yet. He hadn't been with anyone but his wife. Not once. Not ever. Not close. So that night, for the first time in 10 years, he opened a drawer he'd never once touched. What he found inside it didn't just break his heart. It rewrote 2 years of his life, page by page, in her handwriting. Here's the thing, though, and this matters more than people realize. She wasn't cold. She wasn't one of those people you look at and think, yeah, something's off there. She wasn't distant or checked out or hard to read. She was the one who remembered every teacher's name at both kids' schools. Without being reminded, without a note, just remembered. She brought him coffee exactly how he liked it. On their 9th anniversary, she slipped a handwritten note into his jacket pocket. He found it 3 weeks later. He kept it. He wasn't naive. He wasn't the guy missing obvious signs and looking the other way. He was a man married to someone who, by every real measure available to him, genuinely loved him. Which is exactly what made the diary impossible to process. She'd been with at least 6 different men. One of those had lasted over a year. A year. The work trips, the seminars, the dinners with colleagues he'd never met and never thought to question. He stayed home every single time, doing homework, bathing the kids, texting her goodnight, while she was somewhere else entirely, with someone else entirely. And honestly, he would have kept doing it. Forever, probably, if it hadn't been for a urinary infection. But here's where the story stops being just about betrayal. Because in those same pages, same ink, same handwriting, sometimes the very next page after describing one of these encounters, she wrote about him, how grateful she was, how devoted he was, what a good father he'd turned out to be. Not one line of guilt. Not a single sentence where the two parts of her life brushed up against each other, let alone collided. He said it felt like 2 completely different people had been writing the same diary. And somehow, both of them were real. That question, how? That's what this video is actually about. Psychologists call it compartmentalization. And look, it's not a disorder. It's not some rare thing that only broken people do. It's a mechanism, something the brain developed, arguably out of necessity, to hold contradictions that would otherwise be too heavy to carry at the same time. The brain builds walls, sealed rooms, and in each room, a version of you exists that's completely sincere, feels everything fully, and has zero contact with what's happening on the other side. It's the same mechanism that lets a surgeon stay calm while operating on a child. It's why you can genuinely laugh an hour after the worst argument of your life and not feel like you're faking it. Because in that moment, you're not. Most people use it for small stuff. White lies. Feelings they're not ready to look at. Manageable contradictions. What her diary showed was someone running this at a completely different scale. 2 full emotional lives, each one entirely real within its own walls, never bleeding into each other. She wasn't performing love for him. In the moment she wrote those words, she meant them. That was the part he couldn't move past. Not the affairs, the sincerity. He's still in it. Therapy, lawyers, trying to figure out how to protect his kids while he works out what his own life looks like now. But But the question he keeps coming back to, it's not, how could she do this? He has an answer for that now. Not a comfortable one, but he has it. The question he can't shake is different. If someone can seal off an entire life, completely, convincingly, for years, with full sincerity on both sides of the wall, how would any of us ever know? Not suspect? Not get a weird feeling? No. Next week, I'm going into the actual psychology of how compartmentalization works inside the brain, and the specific patterns that researchers say do show up from the outside, if you know what to look for. If that's something you want to understand, subscribe. That video goes places this one didn't.